Thanks for joining us once again in the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. And our very special guest in this edition, Dan Pitcher, quarterback coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. He has a very, very unique bond and relationship with Joe Burrow, as you can imagine. Tremendous amount of mutual respect and admiration there, as well as with all the coaches that deal with Joe Burrow, Brian Callahan, Zach Taylor, everybody. It's very, very exciting for Dan Pitcher to work with Joe Burrow because he's so young and he's so dynamic. This entire offensive football team is, when you talk about Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon. It's just crazy. These guys are just at the very, very beginning of great things that are going to happen. Dan Pitcher talks about that. He talks about Joe Burrow. Everything that you think you know about Joe Burrow, you're right, and there's more. Dan Pitcher will fill you in. Really appreciate you joining in the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, as always, coming from our outstanding studios. There's none better, and there's none better than our guest. Our special guest today, Bengals quarterback coach Dan Pitcher, who is in his 7th year with the Cincinnati Bengals, between working with personnel and on the coaching staff. And that's a very intriguing mix there, Coach. First and foremost, how the heck you doing?
Doing great, Lap. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you. So that mix, the personnel aspect that you were involved with, and then the coaching part of it, you're perfect in terms of realizing what it takes to keep the lines of communication, flowing freely between personnel and coaching staff. Communicating what type of player you want and the response back and forth between those two groups, which is vital, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's critical to the success of an organization. So, all of my technical personnel experience came in Indianapolis. I've been part of the coaching staff the whole time here in Cincinnati. Right. But right. as you well know, we work hand in hand with Duke and Potsy and Steve and the other guys up there, and really everybody else on that floor. Probably more so as a coaching staff than anywhere else in the league. And so, I think the lines of communication, have to be open and clear, and the expectations have to be set. And I think that all the individuals that are in charge of that here in our building do a great job. And it's critical to the success of the team. I know that.
No question about it. You were part of the longest season in National Football League history. I mean, the Super Bowl was played after Valentine's Day, for crying out loud. It was nuts. And it's been a long year, short preparation for the off season. You guys have been grinding away. Get a little bit of time here. Have a month or so before training camp starts. You and the family are going to decompress a little bit. You got anything planned?
Yeah, nothing crazy. It's been a wild spring for us. We welcomed our first child. Our son Ollie was born about 5 days after the Super Bowl. So we've been enjoying, everything that comes with parenthood in the early stages there. And so we'll get out of town here for, 3 weeks or so, just go visit family. We're both from the East Coast. My wife's from New Jersey. I'm from New York. And so we'll drive back there actually tomorrow morning. So you got me perfect timing before I go radio silence here for a couple of weeks.
There you go. It'll be good to just go radio silent for a couple of weeks like that. What a stretch that was when you're in the playoffs, winning playoff games, and first you win the division title, then you go into the playoffs, start winning games, win the AFC championship, and go to the Super Bowl. All the while, you got a child on the way, man. That had to be just a crazy time for you guys.
Yeah, I don't know that we'll ever, experience anything quite like that again. It'll be something I remember for the rest of my life, and my wife, I'm sure, as well. But it was just a great time, super exciting time in our lives. On the professional side, obviously we just didn't quite finish it the way we all hoped. But I think with hindsight, we can all look back and really, enjoy that we were part of something pretty special, and we hope to be part of more of those years going forward.
So last year you have 4 guys that are age 25 or younger, put up numbers like this: Joe Burrow, 4,611 yards passing, team record, 34 touchdown passes, team record. Joe Mixon rushes for 1,205 yards and rushes for 13 touchdowns. And then Jamar Chase, 81 catches, 1,455 yards, almost 18 yards a catch, crazy, 13 touchdowns. T. Higgins, 74 catches, 1,091 yards, almost 15 yards per catch, 6 touchdowns. All those guys, 25 years or younger. That is unbelievable. How bright is the future, Coach?
Well, I'm glad we have them all. You know,
Yeah.
it makes for exciting football, makes for an explosive offensive attack, and really credit goes to those guys and all the people in their lives that helped prepare them for success at such an early age, because a lot of the groundwork is laid for that type of success before they ever get here, and then it's our job as coaches to assess what they do best, put them in positions to excel on the field. And I think we got a pretty good thing going with that right now. It's ever changing. It's very fluid. You figure out, what, that's what we'll be doing in training camp, right? Is figuring out what is this year's version of the team look like, and how do we have to tweak and change things. Maybe we don't, maybe we do. But super glad that we got all those guys and excited to work with them moving forward.
Yeah, and I don't want to leave out Tyler Boyd, who, in my mind, you've got a top, if not the best, top 3 number 1 receiver, top 3 number 2 receiver, if not the best, and top 3 number 3 receiver, if not the best. And Tyler Boyd, 67 catches, 828 yards, 5 more touchdowns. I mean, that attack was just unbelievable. And like you said, there's going to be changes, and the 3 changes that come to mind, first and foremost, are what happened in free agency with the offensive line. And quite honestly, every one of those guys that I talked to that came to the team via free agency in the offensive line, the fact that Joe Burrow was the quarterback in this football team was the big closing deal, man. I mean, they all wanted to play with Joe Burrow, and looking at what Joe Burrow has accomplished to date. How different can the offense look with these 3 guys who, veteran guys, successful guys, Super Bowl wins for 2 of them, multi-Super Bowl wins for Karras, and then you got Collins, who's a beast at right tackle. I mean, how different can the offense look with these guys up front?
Well, we'll find out. It's going to be a process of coming together. I mean, having played as part of that unit, I mean, there's no other position in the game where the chemistry of the unit is more important than the offensive line. And so, I know that's something that Frank preaches, and we added some really good, high character, hardworking guys that care about winning football games. I think that's when you see guys that say, hey, I came here first and foremost because I see what the quarterback can do, and all these guys, have an opportunity to make a lot of money and provide for their families. But when you get guys who value that up as high or above everything else, you're adding people to your organization that care about winning and are going to do whatever it takes to get that job done. So just super excited to add those guys to the mix, and really just, they'll work in with the guys that were here that, that got us to the Super Bowl, and we obviously, it wasn't a perfect unit, and there's areas across the board for us to get better in. But at the end of the day, we played with individuals, in that unit that got us there. And so that experience is invaluable for those young players moving forward too. And so, just really excited to see that group of guys, and knowing what the job that Frank does, I think we'll be in great shape.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm not trying to disparage, anybody, but there were, matchup problems and weaknesses that you got to game plan, maybe differently for, and cover up some things and help in areas. And sometimes that's 5 times harder than just, putting in a game plan. And then it also limits potentially areas of the field that you can attack, because you're just not quite able to hold up for the amount of time you want to hold up for. And route combinations in areas of the field are going to be, maybe totally different. And running game improves, the play action passing game improves. I mean, it's all a big trickle down effect, and it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of adjustments, maybe a little bit more efficient play up front allows you guys to do. It could be really exciting.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt that the better you are, that's where it all starts, right? And if you can control the line of scrimmage, then it just makes everything else in the run game, pass game, everything easier. And so, we gotta, those guys will come together as a unit in training camp and move forward. And I think it's a really promising group.
So, Joe Burrow, obviously, the numbers like that we talked about. He played at an extremely high level. There's no question about that. His physical improvement was obvious to me. I mean, he had some injuries, obviously, that he dealt with in rehab. Along the way, though, I mean, he kind of changed his body. To me, he kind of trimmed out a little bit. Not that he needed to trim out, but he talked about he lost weight and he decided to keep it off and get stronger, in so doing. And how different is he physically going into year 3 than when he first came to the Cincinnati Bengals out of LSU?
I think he's made, some changes in that area. I have utmost trust in him and his dedication to his body, nutritionally, from a training standpoint, everything he does, in that area. So, it's changed maybe in certain areas. Honestly, because I trust him so much, I don't even pay that much attention. I worry about him as a football player and getting him ready to play games on Sunday. And we've got a great strength staff, and Joe's got great people in his life that he trusts that help him get ready physically. And that's a luxury I have, right? That I have a guy who is so mature and works so hard in that area that I don't even really have to think about it. I don't have to keep my thumb on him. I don't have to ask him, hey, how's this going? How's your weight? We don't even talk about it because that's just the kind of pro that he is.
He is a pro's pro in every sense of the word. There's always tweaks and mechanics, and I know he's talked about the way he utilizes his hips maybe a little bit differently. That's changed his throwing motion, and that front foot, his transfer foot did a couple of different things with. I mean, his arm strength has noticeably improved. In your mind, is it that noticeable to you? Or you see him every day, so might not be quite as noticeable when you don't see him, and then all of a sudden, boy, he's ripping a little bit more than he did.
Yeah, that was kind of that was what everyone was talking about, last time this year, coming off of the spring when he come off the rehab. And I think there was some truth to that. When you talk about the mechanical tweaks and things, that almost falls in the same category of what I just talked about with it. It's like, because I know him and because I trust him, if he wants to experiment with some stuff and see how it's working, then great. I'm always going to be for that. And because of his, again, maturity level and professionalism, he's ultimately going to come to camp with whatever mechanics are going to allow him to play the best and us to win. And if there's an issue or he's doing something, we need to talk about, we'll talk about it at that point. But he's very few people are as sound as he is in that area. And so total trust there. And he looks great.
His deep ball. I mean, quote, oh, maybe that was a little bit of a problem the first year. Last year, Pro Football Focus had him rated number 1 in the National Football League deep ball. What was the key? What was the big I don't know. What was something you maybe uncovered to make that major improvement in the deep ball?
Well, I thought Joe's accuracy was outstanding. I thought the times that he chose to push the ball down the field were really intelligent times to do so. And then the other end of the equation is the guys at the other end of the throw that were just making play after play after play. I mean, those guys did an outstanding job, and when you're talking about the plays down the field, it was primarily Jamar and T, and, some of those other guys, got a couple there, but I mean, you're just talking about ballers. I mean, guys that when they have an opportunity are going to make the play 9 out of 10 times. And Joe trusts them and he gave them opportunities. And, just like the year prior where, it becomes a point of emphasis, maybe negatively, and you try, you you try to improve upon it, and maybe it doesn't happen as fast as you want, and you press a little bit. Well, the opposite can happen when the things start going well, and now you start riding the hot hand a little bit, and there's no reason we can't continue to do that, because those guys we're throwing it to are only going to get better, and Joe's only going to get better.
So Joe, football savant, mentally, there's no question about it. Has he improved though? Has the mental part of the game for Joe Burrow improved on a yearly basis for you as well?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's an ongoing thing. I mean, you look at guys like, that are Hall of Famers at the position, and I'm sure they would tell you that they got better in year 4 and 5 and 7 and 10 and however long they play. That's why they play so long, right? As they continue to grow in that area. And I think the biggest thing is just the confidence of accumulated reps and knowing what you see. And then now that you've seen it 20, 50, 100, 500 times, it just allows you to make that decision that much faster and have the confidence that I know what they're doing. I get the ball out of my hand. This is where I can take a shot. This is where I got to check it down. So yeah, he continues to grow in that area, and he's only going to get better.
So he has a tremendous skill set, mentally, physically, the whole 9 yards. What does he do best? What thing or things in your mind does he do best?
His processing is rare. His accuracy is rare, and his ability to make plays outside of the design structure of the play. Probably I would say those 3 things, just in terms of his on the field play. And then, just from an intangible standpoint, he's, rare competitiveness, intelligence, natural leadership, that those kind of go hand in hand with the on the field thing. So that's what makes him different. What kind of sets him apart, I think.
At First Star Logistics, we're a very strict company that really puts the pressure on our employees. Breaks? What are those?
That's what I'm talking about, Icky. Get the body right, then the mind's right.
Gotta get that body right.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Become a star with a chance to earn the highest commission percentages in the industry as a freight broker agent. Check out firststarlogistics.com.